It's always a pleasure having you join us every weekday on Rise and Shine Daily. Today is not an exception as we bring you very interesting conversations lined up for you this morning on the show. My name is Janice Kobum and I'm super delighted once again to be here. Welcome.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. Life is a gift given to us by God, and we have been blessed with it this morning. I am delighted to be here this morning. My name is Uyai, and you can please, like the YouTubers will do, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, click the bell.
Click the notification button. Make sure you're following us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at Spectrum. Take your contribution on the issues that will be raised on the floor of Rise and Shine.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I forget to let you know is that you can also follow us on all our social media platforms.
Like our personal
social media platforms. So please, let's get it on the screen this morning. Our personal social media handles.
Yeah.
Let's continue the conversations. Let's follow and follow. And of course, we'll follow back as well.
I mean, you can tell us what you think about our show. You can tell us, some of the issues you would like for us to raise. Just like the conversation we're having this morning. So there's a lot of things. So follow us at our yeah.
Good morning,
Good morning, Janice.
Another day on set, like I always say. Before we
another day to speak English.
Yeah, another day to speak English. Before we'd even go into our main, conversations for this morning in terms of our flash news and major stories and all the things lined up for today's program, let's even talk a little bit about the Naira policy, redesign our Naira policy. Yes, we all know that after the whole crunch thing, I've not seen him again. That means he's out of business. But the problem is, right now, we're not having any Naira crunch anymore, right? And there's money in circulation. But it seems that the people in Akwa Ibom State, the people in Uyo are not, they're not helping other Nigerians. When I'm talking about the POS operators now, there is money in circulation. So why are people still paying 200, 300 Naira to withdraw a 5,000 Naira amount? It's really terrible. I think money is in circulation. Why not revert back to the normal charges of 100 Naira for 5,000 Naira? And I think it's even 100 Naira for even 10,000 Naira. Yes, 100 Naira for 10,000 Naira or 100 Naira for 5,000 Naira, and then 150 for 10,000 Naira. Yes. So, but we still have a situation in Uyo where we are still paying as much as 200 and 300 Naira to withdraw 5,000.
It's really terrible because, like, over the weekend, I know that I withdrew 5,000 at 300 Naira, and I just thought, okay, maybe this is really happening everywhere. And so I think, first of all, it's going to be a need for review in terms of, like all of these people have unions. So why are the union leaders not saying, okay, the crunch is over, none of us is buying money to serve the people? Why don't we revert back to the price of 100 Naira? So for me, I will come from the place of what exactly are the POS agents unions in Akwa Ibom State doing? Why are they not having this conversation? And I also think that is also a matter of individual differences, because I'm sure that there are places that you go in Uyo that have reverted back to normal. Unions of POS operators in Akwa Ibom State should have that conversation with POS agents so that, like the CBN governor was saying the other time, we don't take it up against you like lawfully. I mean, that is why we are here. We need to have discussions rather that touch the needs of the people.
Exactly.
Every time you want to withdraw 5,000 Naira and you have to spend 300 Naira on top of that, calculate how much you're going to do every time. It's a financial waste and deficit for people. Sometimes it just goes unaccounted for. Do not forget you're paying VAT and all that things when you're even just using your cards for transactions. So the unions need to have that corrective conversation. Let's agree, what exactly are we working with, and make sure that it becomes uniform, statewide. And then for the individuals that are, still being greedy, please just correct yourself. I'm sure that there is a system that the central bank makes you earn, over just the 100 Naira withdrawal. So it's not like you 100 Naira before. We would not have had a lot of people want to run POS agents, service. We would not have had, we have POS agents every 10 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes work. It means that there is profit in the business on its own, the way the banking system has structured it. It means there is an earning upon that 100 Naira per withdrawal that is good enough for business. So why try to, you know, rip off other people from their money? It's
Yeah,
not reasonable.
it's really terrible. And just like you put it, it's a total rip-off. And you know that in Nigeria, we have that mentality that when once prices of goods, you know, and services escalate, it's very difficult for it to come down
come
again.
back down,
Yes. So, but this is absolute greed. And we really do not like that it is continuing. If there is money in circulation, I think over the weekend, I wanted to do withdrawals. And I told that the first person that was charging me 300 for 5,000 even uses her sales money. So it's not as if you're going to the bank to buy money or something. It is the money you're selling out of the goods that you're selling that you're using to do this POS. So how greedy can people be? It's really terrible, and we absolutely need an attitudinal change in this country.
We do.
Yeah, we do need an attitudinal change. So let's look at our flash stories this morning. Our flash news. Of course, we remember Oyetola Adegboyega has been on that case and saying that the PDP now did not actually win that particular elections. And so today, the Supreme Court has fixed a day to deliver its judgment on an appeal seeking to sack Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State from office. Now, a 5-man panel of justices of the Apex Court adjourned to resolve the legal dispute surrounding the governorship election that held in the state on July 16, 2022. It will be recalled that the Osun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal had on January 27, in a split decision, voided the declaration of Adeleke. Akume-led 3-member panel tribunal, in its majority verdict, upheld the petition that was brought before it by the former governor of the state, Adegboyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress APC, who came second in the election. It held that Adeleke did not score the majority of lawful votes, adding that the conduct of the election was not in substantial compliance with provisions of the Electoral Act. Now, also, according to the tribunal, the petitioners, Oyetola and APC, successfully established that there was overvoting in 744 polling units in the state. After deducting the said valid votes, the tribunal declared Oyetola as winner of the governorship contest, even as it directed the INEC to withdraw the certificate of return it earlier issued to Adeleke. However, in his dissenting judgment, the third member of the panel, Justice P. Ogboli, affirmed Adeleke as the valid winner of the election, even as he struck out the petition that was lodged by Oyetola and the APC. Well, we have a case in our hands here, and I know that there's been the back and forth when it comes to the Osun State off-season elections, you know, that held sometime last year, and we also see that at the first instance, Adeleke of the PDP was declared the winner of that particular election, but it was also taken to the appeal. It was appealed by the APC and Oyetola, you know, that there was overvoting in 744 polling units. And so it was the appeal of the APC and, of course, Oyetola to ask that the elections was declared null and void, and him, Oyetola, declared as the winner. But again, we saw that at some point after the appeal or so, we had that Oyetola, yes, not Oyetola now, Adeleke, you know, was
upheld.
Yeah, was not upheld. He wasn't upheld. I think that they said he did not win the elections, right? Yes, he did not win the elections. It was given to Oyetola, and then there was an appeal. Of course, that we are going to hear the judgment of that appeal today by Ademola Adeleke.
Well,
yeah.
it's a dicey situation,
Very
and
dicey.
especially because we see more like Ademola Adeleke is the people's choice. More like there's been, you know, that rousing welcome has continued even after the elections. We've seen, you know, lots of activities come up in Osun State as a result of Ademola Adeleke being there as the helmsman. And the contest by the APC, what the Supreme Court decides in this particular matter is going to be final, because I mean, that is the apex court, the highest in the land. So if at the end of today, looking at the election tribunal judgment and then looking at that of the appeal court, depending on where the Supreme Court tilts, that's the result we'll be getting. Because now for the election petition tribunal, they upheld, they said Boyega Oyetola won the elections. Upon appeal court said it is Ademola Adeleke. So we you know, that. So there are two different judgments from
Yeah.
the two different levels. Now the Supreme Court is going to be, you know, looking into the issue based on the, you know, reviews, the evidences before them, and they would have to choose between the two men. Now at the end of the day, whoever the Supreme Court, you know, certified is the one that is going to sit on the seat. So it's more like serious, you know, fingers crossed. At the end of today, who is going to be the governor of Osun State? Because I mean, after here, there is really nowhere else they can go. You have to shoot your sword and wait for the next round of election if you know if you want to go again. But two different sides of the coin. They are great fans of the dancing governor, you know, and there are also people that believe that Boyega Oyetola did a great job because anybody. The law is not going to feel a certain way towards Ademola Adeleke, neither is it going to feel a certain way, you know, for Boyega Oyetola. It's just going to be what's on the books and why are we deciding
based on the merits of the cases that are before it. It will give its judgments, but fingers crossed on that particular one.
Just I can't even wave myself.
Just like you said, of course, the two men, they have their fan base, and when we want to go back a little bit into the administration of Ademola Adeleke, you'd see that he has, in the little time that he's been the governor, he has done so much for the people of Osun State. And just like you'd always say, Moledi, the light has come, and that light is what he is bringing to Osun State and all of that. And I think so far so good. Maybe the people of Osun,
fingers crossed, at the end of the day we are going to see what happens. So we just move on to our very next story, and this is a major story. The All Progressives Congress National Working Committee has nominated Godswill Obot Akpabio and Abbas Tajuddin as the next Senate President and House of Representatives Speaker in the upcoming 10th National Assembly, respectively. Now, of course, there are other people that were nominated according to zones. Senate President, South, Senate. Now, House of Representatives Speaker, House Northwest, okay, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin from Kaduna. Deputy Speaker, Southeast, Honorable Ben Kalu from Abia. So it looks like there is a, you know, balancing out here from the two houses. Now, the petition submitted by, okay, all right, so that is, you know, very nice. I think I like the balance, the way it looks. If we go by this, because it also means that the APC is also upholding some form of zoning, you know, for who they want on that saddle. It's now a competition between them and other parties in the House. And if these other parties do not have a very strong contender for the position, or they do not even just agree, you know, to the people foisted by the APC. But this listing already has a lot of welcome. To a very large extent, there are people that are really glad that, okay, if these persons come on board, they are going to be able to get the work done. If you are speaking for the likes of Godswill Akpabio, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, as the Senate President, that is like a lot of, you know, a lot of energy at that position. We're speaking a lot of innovation as a person. He's driven as a leader and very, very people-oriented. So like we continue to say, one of our problems with this house is policy making, you know, the policies that touch the needs of the people. And we're also going to hope that now, if we have someone who balances out the house, make sure that they are not wasteful in, you know, policies or the things that they do, I think he's a great man for the job. And I think APC has made a good choice.
Well, it's still debatable because a lot of other factions are saying that, look, the zoning formula should not even come in at this point in time. Let's not forget that all of this does not actually mean that Senator Godswill Akpabio has become the Senate President.
Of course not.
It means that this is just a work in the pipeline, you know, towards is it 5th of June? Yes, 5th of June now, where they will have the inauguration proper. But there's just a back and forth here when it comes to what happened yesterday with the APC National Working Committee. Of course, they have come out with that lineup and trying to also balance up, you know, in terms of geopolitical zones now, a good representation. But of course, the Southeast is one geopolitical zone that has come out to cry out foul due to what happened yesterday during the National Working Committee meeting. One of such person is Ifeanyi Uba, who is insisting on Southeast Senate presidency. And he's asking a very pertinent question here. It says, are we not part of Nigeria? So why are we out of, you know, taking Nigeria now? is it the fourth man now,
The
or
third.
the third man? Yes, in this particular dispensation. But again, like I said, it's not like cast in stone that because of the endorsements that have come forward, it automatically means that. But again, we're also looking at the body language of the president-elect, in terms of these issues now. Before the National Working Committee will come out to, say that these are the people we want, we are going to be holding on to the principle of zoning, then you should also know that, yes, maybe also the president-elect has some kind of interferences in all of this, and his body language too accepts the fact that, yes, what the National Working Committee has done is absolutely what he wants to happen as well.
Well, it's just an expectation. Like you said, this is not cast in stone. Does it have a great possibility of affecting the results of, quote and unquote, lobby the president elect? Now lobby every other person who is involved in who becomes the Senate president. Now, I think leaning on the sentiment about having a Southeasterner at the helms of affairs as the third person. Now, I think history will help us here, so that it doesn't look like, oh, there's been never an attempt to, especially with regards to that particular office. We've always had, Southeasterners every now and then serving as Senate president.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not like it's been a particular seat that they have been, shielded from ever holding power there. So let's not also reap off ethnic sentiments around the Senate presidency as of now, because consider it very easily. If you're saying, it should be for the Southeast, the APC is saying, okay, we consider that a South-South Senate president would do also great. Let us also look at how closely knitted we are as Southeast and South-South. It's still coming back to us. The work will still come back to us. The energy of power will still come back to us. So sometimes let's not, unnecessarily heat up ethnicity. History will help us. If we're having that conversation around the presidency, that's a different one entirely. But looking at the Senate presidency, I think that we should just, go with what works. And then again, let's not forget, this is just the APC. And the APC is not the only party in the House. There's also going to be the PDP and all the other, smaller units. Of course, having served for a period of time determines if you can even become a Senate president. But then again, it's not only an APC affair. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see how this continues to evolve. It's just that at this point, the APC has set its structure and set its house in order. If we need men to serve in this capacity, who are we sending? They have finished that assignment. That's just where it stands.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, our fingers will be crossed as to what will happen on the 5th of June concerning the National Assembly, 10th National Assembly leadership talk actually opened and it started. Let's give perspective to this now. The petition submitted by Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, has been adjourned, of course, till Wednesday, May 10, which is tomorrow. We also saw Kenneth Okonkwo, who is a spokesperson of the party, disclosed this yesterday via his Twitter page. But after a brief hearing trial, the case was adjourned to Wednesday, 10th May 2023 at 2 p.m. prompt. And we also see that for the likes of PDP and Atiku Abubakar, their petition will be heard today in the tribunal as well. But serious concerns. We just saw a mammoth crowd of lawyers, yesterday. Yeah, I remember also that we saw pictures where they said that the doors of the tribunal was also closed. So lawyers were just hanging around and waiting for the doors to be opened. But again, we see a lot of enthusiasm on the part of lawyers, coming to look into the matter, because this is a very serious national, based on the merits of all of the cases that will be before them, in the subsequent days that we'll be having to hear the election petition tribunal cases.
The pre-hearing has already started, and today we are going to see, some further hearing. Of course, the People's Democratic Party is on the table today, and the Allied Alliance So they're going to be looking into their petitions, hear their prayers as regards the presidential election as held on the 25th of February. What does this mean? There's just a lot of anticipation on the streets of Nigeria. Let's not even forget that also yesterday we had some civil society organizations stand outside the court with placards and different things, just continuing to implore the judiciary to do what is expected of them, some of the outcomes that Nigerians are expecting out of the whole process. So at this time, with regards to the election tribunal, there is a lot of expectation, but like we'd always say, you do not know which way it's going to turn. Need to stress the country further so that we can, like you would always say, go into governance, look at economic reforms, people can move forward with their lives, businesses can get back to normal, because politics greatly affects the activity of the state. There's a lot being held hostage because we do not know who is leading what. So this tribunal is a lot of things, and I think in a really comic relief way, I'm looking at all the array of lawyers and I'm like, what exactly are all of these people going to be talking about? And then I remember, like, I think it was a picture that Okonkwo had posted. Kenneth Okonkwo had posted. Then we now have like heaps and heaps and heaps of documents, and we're like, some of these people, they have gone to the tribunal. They are not joking. Energy, the PDP is going to be pulling out today, and we just hope that their lawyers can argue their cases the best way.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about how ready those people are, I would like us to also very quickly now look at the lead lawyers for the three presidential candidates. Of course, we have Wole Olanipekun, who is leading the team for Tinubu now. And of course, he's 72, a former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice for Ondo State. He is also a one-time Vice President, I beg your pardon, of the Pan-African Lawyers Union, PALU, as well as former Pro-Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, UI. He attained the rank of SAN in 1991 at the age of 39 years old, the youngest in the confirmation year. The very next person is Chris Uche. He's leading the lawyers, the team for Atiku Abubakar. Chris Uche, of course, is also a senior advocate of Nigeria, a foremost legal practitioner with over 30 years of experience. His law office, of course, is in Abuja, the Nigerian capital city. He has handled several celebrated cases of national interest and constitutional importance. He has been a very active member of his professional association, and then he was member of the National Executive Committee, NEC, of the NBA from 1988 up until that. The lead lawyer now for Peter Obi
and the Labour Party,
Levi Uzoku, was conferred with the rank of SAN in 1999, a former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Imo State, has experience in the practice of law at all levels of the judicial system in Nigeria, up to the Supreme Court. So in 2008, the President of Nigeria conferred on him with National Honor of Officer of the Order of Niger. And of course, that's it. So serious, I would say that the who is who in the legal luminary, leading the cases, the cases and the team for these three presidential candidates. Actually,
this is like experience in a sack of in a race sack.
Yeah.
It's like my 30 years versus your 30 years and all of that.
And my son versus your son.
My son versus your son. It's going to be a great time in court, and I think another fun will be having the younger lawyers understudy the process.
Of course,
learning how these judgments are done, how the arguments are done.
Another line is, maybe that's why we have a whole lot of them there, because of course it's another venue for them to
really
learn
understudy.
and understudy. Yes,
it's a really big case.
Cases.
So I think lawyers are going to be having their time of day, and I know I have a couple of lawyers in my space. I'm going to be reading and looking up for their reactions with regards to this. But now, when you look at the array of men at the helms of the litigation, you're just wondering what the arguments are going to be, and we do, at the end of the day, you're expecting that there are no biases. It's just, a blind justice system that is arguing what is best on the table. And another thing is, sometimes I mean, it depends. So now, when you're saying we picked these great men to lead, how well are their litigation prowess? Because at the end of the day, someone who, quote unquote, is not supposed to win a case can win the case if he makes a better argument. So, what is the argument strengths of each of these three men?
Of course, before the presidential candidates of each of those parties would pick
would have
this
weighed
men to,
their
yes, would have
options.
weighed their options, know their strengths. Don't forget that these people have, judged national cases, and yeah, they have the strength, they have the capacity. But again, the law is actually a very complex thing, and so when you're discussing the law, there could be some loopholes or a small window that another lawyer would see and detect, and then use it against you and win the case automatically. But again, of course, Nigerians are looking forward to all of the tribunal cases holding for the presidential elections, and we are keeping our faith up as well on the judicial system to make sure that they give Nigerians a good outing as the last hope for us to follow up on that as well. So we are looking forward to seeing that happen. But until then, we'll just take a breather now and then join Mary Joseph, who's standing by for the news brief. And when we come back, of course, other very interesting conversations lined up for you on Rise and Shine. Don't forget, Daily Spotlight, where we get to share information on the front pages of our national dailies, is coming up next. And then our focus conversation this morning, we are looking into assets declaration. Why is it a prerequisite for political party holders, office holders? We'll be right back. To stay with us.
exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve 45 seats in counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum, live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with the report that President Muhammad Buhari has directed the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, to take over the supervision of all crude oil export terminals in the country. This directive was contained in a letter addressed to both the Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, Benga Komolafe and Farouk Ahmed, respectively. Away from that, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has said it would partner with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to assist Nigerian women in Iraq. The Director General of the big players in the massive recruitment of Nigerians in Iraq for domestic servitude. In a separate development, female legislators in the 9th National Assembly under the aegis of Women in Parliament have called on the President-elect Bola Tinubu to enforce the national gender policy of Nigeria by allotting 35% of appointments in the public sector to the women folks. The Chief Executive Officer of the NWCF, Mufulat Fijabi, observed that despite the country's adoption of the national gender policy and other international instruments, women continue to be marginalized in politics and decision-making processes. Heading now to the foreign scene, Israel has launched pre-dawn airstrikes against the Palestinian group Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip. Its military announced with the Ministry of Health of the Hamas-controlled territory, saying 12 people were killed. The ministry said that women and children were among the dead, but did not give further details as to the identity of the victims. The Israeli army, Pep Guardiola, says his players must on Tuesday avoid falling into the trap of trying to avenge last year's UEFA Champions League semi-final defeat to Real Madrid. Both teams will meet on Tuesday at the same stage of the tournament, with Manchester City away in the first leg in Madrid. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigeria for Spectrum TV to recover 45 seats in counting.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Just returning from the news brief desk, where we had Mary Joseph bring us tidbits of global news. Just before that, we looked at certain stories already on the show. Supreme Court to deliver judgment on the governorship election that held in Osun State. Of course, a petition between former Governor Boyega Oyetola versus the current Governor Ademola Adeleke. That ruling will be given today by the Supreme Court. We also see that the APC NWC has revealed zoning formula for assembly seats. Of course, there's been a list of the Senate presidency, man who they want. They've also given that of the deputy Senate president and that of the speaker, deputy speaker of the House of Reps. Fingers crossed as how this is going to, evolve in the next couple of days. Who will the Senate president be? I think that should be the question, right? Okay, moving on from that, already we saw that the election tribunal cases had been adjourned to today. Of course, it's going to be opening in the next couple of hours. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party's petition will be on the table today. Protesters asked tribunal, okay, those are some of the stories we've talked about this morning. Now, why are we giving you a rundown? We're telling you there's a lot you need to catch up on. You can only do that if you're following us across all our social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Our YouTube channel has our shows, our Facebook pages has our shows. Get there, engage the conversation, like, share, comment. But at this point, we'll be moving straight up now to Daily Spotlight, where we bring you stories from the front pages of our national dailies.
Dailies, we get to start with our morning papers this day. Of course, let's look at what Daily Sun has for us as our first paper for the morning. The big story here says opposition parties group kick as APC zones National Assembly positions. And the writer here says rejects zoning of Senate President to South-South, Akpabio's adoption. Northwest to produce Deputy Senate President, Speaker, Southeast Deputy Speaker. You can find details of that story on page 8. Presidential Tribunal begins sitting, warns parties against delay tactics and technicalities. Of course, you can find that on page 6. Protesters ask Tribunal to stop President-elect's inauguration. Moving forward, Senate presidency, Kalu writes APC National Working Committee. Of course, senators-elect. Page 6 is where you get that. Anxiety in Osun as Supreme Court delivers judgment today. Page 26 is where you get that. Moving forward, court voids Obaseki's suspension of trade unions' activities in Edo tertiary institutions. Echo bandits attack church, abduct 40 worshippers in Kaduna State. Page 4 is where you get details of that from. We also have fire incidents will not affect our operation, says EFCC. And of course, the last story here says Remembrance Day, IPOB declares sit at home May 30. Page 27 is where you get details of that story from. And that's all that we have here on the front page of Daily Sun newspaper.
Moving on from Daily Sun, let's look at Punch. What's the Punch saying this morning? Election Tribunal, Tinubu Atiku, Obi's legal battle commences. PDP, APM's petitions pre-hearing holds today. LP, Obi's case Wednesday. Tribunal warns lawyers, says those who deserve justice will get it paid. High duty vehicle imports crash by 128%. Page 21, you can find that story. Obi's visit, not about reconciliation, says Wole in car. Page 19 is where you can find that story. Oshibajo presents discharge certificate to Transcorp Power. Okay, Adeleke Oyetola hopeful as Supreme Court delivers judgment today. Bandits kidnap 40 worshippers, 9 emirs children. Whoa, such a sad one there in Kaduna. Federal government plans rescue of Nigerian domestic workers in Iraq. Page 16 is where you can find that story, and that's all we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
We take our very next paper now, and that will be the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune, the big story here says opposition heightens as APC National Working Committee adopts Akpabio and Abbas. Of course, so many riders there for that particular story. Owo's 36th memorial anniversary patronal day holds today in Ikene, Remo. We also have here, of course, on Osun State Supreme Court to deliver judgment on governor petition today. And then a sad story here, bandits abducting 40 worshippers during church service in Kaduna State. More like a replay of what happened in Owo, the church in Owo some years back now. Why Nigeria should join BRICS, says Falano. Presidential election petition court dismisses AA's petition. Action Alliance, of course, they seek for a withdrawal of their case against President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the court actually said we will not do that until your cases is presented properly before. So it was just acting in accordance to what the AA, party demanded, that they wanted to withdraw their case from that. Moving forward, federal government presents certificate of discharge to Transcorp Power Limited. And that's just about what we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
Looking at the Nation newspaper next, the big story there says APC picks up Akpabio, Abbas as Senate President and Speaker. Okay, this is ineligible. I can't read that. We also see here, I don't know, obedience, says Shoyinka. Obi's visit, Nobel laureate. Okay, 40 worshippers abducted during church service, 15 victims escape. This is such a sorry situation. We do hope that help comes quickly. 134 kidnapped victims from FCT councils rescued in Kogi. Wow. 400,000 youths participate annually in NYC program. Okay. Presidential Tribunal strikes out AA suit. Sudan, 3-week-old among 5th batch of 132 returnees. Okay, those are all the stories that we have on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Is that our last paper now, or there's another
okay,
paper?
We have the Vanguard. Okay, let's look at Vanguard this morning. Okay, avoid technicalities, delays, court warns parties and lawyers. Presidential election petitions hearing. Now, sitting starts amid tight security. AA withdraws petition against Tinubu and INEC. You can't stand in for Tinubu, court tells Governor Lalong. Adjourns hearing on Obi's petition till tomorrow. Meet the 5 juries that will determine Tinubu, Atiku, Obi's fate. Now, that story can be found on page 32. We also see here CBN banned foreign banks rep office from banking business. Prospective bride, 7 others die in Zamfara boat mishap. AFAN, federal government presents discharge certificate to Transcorp Power Limited. Page 34 is where you can find that story. I think that's such a great, addition again to the great thing that Tony Elumelu is doing in the country in terms of business and public-private, participations. Now, we also see here reconciliation not discussed during Obi's visit, says showing page 10. Terrorist attack Kaduna Church abducts 40 worshippers. Okay. Sudan crisis, 129 more evacuees arrive Abuja MD over comment. 10th NAS, APC zone Senate presidency to South, Northwest gets speaker slot. In health, we see here cancer, Nigeria lagging in brachytherapy treatment, says experts. Fireworks as Real Madrid battle Man City for final ticket. Okay, those are all the stories that we have on the front page of the Vanguard, and that's all that we have on our papers.
Okay, very quickly now. Quite a lot of interesting stories that we have on the front pages of our national dailies this morning. But let's open the phone lines. We'd love to hear from Nigerians this morning on a couple of issues. But I think first and foremost, let's even look at what's happening in terms of the 10th National Assembly now, the zoning process of the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress. Of course, what's your thought on that? National Assembly, APC National Working Committee revealing a zoning pattern, and of course zoning the seat of the Senate presidency to the South. And of course, we see that other zoning issues have also Southeasterners in all of the, the schemes of things as it is happening. So what's your thought on it? Do you think that it is okay for, the zoning process of the National Working Committee of APC? It's a big question this morning. Yeah, definitely.
It's a big question. Are we satisfied with this, or are there other systems you think, the parties can use? But then our phone lines are displayed on the screen. It is time for Nigerians to talk. Let's talk Nigerians. So feel free to call us on the phone lines displayed. Send us WhatsApp or text messages. We have an array of issues raised on the front pages of our national dailies. Election tribunals are ongoing today. The judges have warned that the lawyers and that only those who deserve justice will get it. So as the tribunals are going on, there are absolutely no sentiments with the course of things as it goes. So these are things we can talk about. The zoning of the last 10th Senate presidency to the southeast, and that of the House of Reps to the northwest. How does that settle with you as a Nigerian? Several conversation, and it's funny to see that there is actually stiff opposition to that zoning attempt right there by the APC. Yeah. But these are some of the things that we're talking about, and all about the news yesterday, the fact that Transcorp Power has been removed from the monitoring list of the federal government, so they can go ahead to operate on their own without that, much supervision. I think is a great one. And when we are looking at public-private, participation, moving things forward, partnerships, it is really good at this time. If we see more people, in that caliber doing more, I think we are going to see a lot of impact. When we're talking power sector, we're talking about electricity. So let's see how much of a difference Transcorp Power is going to bring to that sector in the areas where they are covering. And so it will further inform us whether or not we want more of these kinds of partnerships in those kinds of sectors, and what's the hope therein. So I mean, a lot of great conversations going on here. Really sad stories about the optimism from Abuja, from the FCT. They were rescued in Kogi State. That is something else.
Well, rescued, that means we should give some kind of accolade, right? Yes, to the Nigerian
134 is a lot of numbers.
Yes, true that. But serious issues actually, and a lot of interesting stories actually too. I'm trying to look for one that quite interested me. I think also on the election petition tribunal now, there's been the advice of avoid a lot of technicalities, avoid this, avoid that, and I think much more important is the tribunal. But I think we are also hoping that we get calls this morning. Let's just take a breather and try to link up with our guest. Of course, some of these issues will be raised up during that conversation as well as we even take our focus conversation that is talking about assets declaration and all of that. So we'll take a short breather now, and of course we'll be right back shortly to continue the conversations this morning. Just stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421, and on free-to-air. with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
This is still Rise and Shine, and we're bringing you great conversations of things happening in the country. We've just looked at the front pages of our national dailies, and we have a plethora of stories right there. But we just want to have our guest on with us while we look into some of these issues of national interest, especially with regards to like election tribunal cases going on. And the big question that has continued to be raised about asset declaration. How is this a prerequisite for political office holders? These are the things we need to talk about this morning. You'd also still have the chance to get to who himself is an ace practicing journalist. Very good to have you on the show this morning. Good morning.
Nigeria.
How is
Good
Calabar?
morning, Akwa Abbas, Ubon State.
Yes. How is Calabar this morning?
Well, Calabar is cool, nice, sunny.
It was looking foggy in the morning, but I'm sure by the time we step out of the studios, we'll be sure whether it's raining or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Anyways, Rashid, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we want to look at asset declaration as a prerequisite to political office holders now. But before we get there, a lot of stories have come up on our national dailies this morning, and I just want you to, give us your thought on some of them. And one of it is, of course, the 10th National Assembly. A lot of back and forth on the zoning that, the National Working Committee came up with yesterday. And what on this actually?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, Janet. The National Assembly leadership position has always been a subject of controversy, especially from 2007 to date. A controversy in the sense that sometimes, and in most cases, the preferred candidate by the leadership of the party or even the president, as it were, the ball game altogether at this time, because I remember in 2007, late President Yar'Adua didn't show interest in who becomes the either Senate President or Speaker of the House of Reps, simply because he felt that there's a separation of them. I mean, you all know what happened. Of course, he was interested and we saw what happened. Same goes in 2015 when the former Senate President Bukola Saraki emerged out of the calculation of the leadership of the party and of course the presidency. So maybe this one will be a tactician politician. So maybe it's going to calm the nerves and bring on board both the APC member and of course the opposition member. It's about give and take. Everybody wants something good. It's not about those who are endorsed right now. It's about the days ahead, because as the day close by, we begin to see different things, different information. Only yesterday, against the position of the party, you saw the House of Representative guy, Batera from Borno State, And looking at the people who went for that declaration with him, you know that there is something somewhere cooking. So let's just south of Nigeria deserve to produce the president of the Senate. It doesn't matter where the Senate president is coming from the south, but I think the south deserves it. Given the analysis I gave earlier, it has always been south and north. It's where the Senate president will come from. So, and incoming of the Senate president from southern Nigeria, as we have it now, I think he's produced the Senate president. The last Senate president we have in the southern part of Nigeria, and at that time it was even southeastern part of Nigeria, was the former Senate president from Cross River here, the late Senator Joseph Wayas. In this current democratic experience that we are enjoying currently from 1999 to now, all the 5 states of the southeastern part of Nigeria have tested that Senate presidency, from Anambra to Enugu, to Imo, to Abia, to Ebonyi. All have said stop political calculation to zone Senate presidency to the south, which the party has done. In my view, I think it is better and it will be respected for the party to have done that other than the president-elect. Because president-elect zoning or picking a candidate from the south look like he wants a candidate and person that he feel he can work with, and it doesn't.
The Senate president should be. Is that supposed to be the case?
Exactly what I'm trying to say. You know, it looks as if he's trying to pick somebody he thinks can bow to his authority wherever and whatever he wants. And it shouldn't be so, because the legislative arm of government is completely different from the executive. Just like you have the president now, I'm picking who is going to become the Chief Justice of Nigeria. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And this is what we witnessed between 1999 and 2007 in this country. But between 2007 up until I think 2019, we saw a different ball game. The president-elect, as it were, or the president, we pick some of their choice, who they think they can work with. So let's wait. But the person the party has picked now, so let me not talk about who the president-elect has picked, but the person that the party has picked now, I think he deserves it. I think he deserves it, in my view.
Okay,
and, let's just wait and see what is likely to come up.
This is who I want, but it's more like insinuations from body language, because as the information is, it is the National Working Committee that have come together and zoned and picked the people that they want to represent them. But you know, still talking about that issue, we also see that it's no longer body language. Okay,
it's no longer body language. It has come officially. In fact, that news was broken here in Cross River by the governor of Kano State first,
Abdullahi Ganduje.
To the south, and zoning into the south, they have zoning to Akwa Ibom State, and no other person than, in his word, uncommon governor, uncommon minister, uncommon senator, who is going to be the president of the Senate.
Yeah, I was saying, in terms of body language, I was talking about just the president-elect, you know, just himself. But then again, we are looking at the fact that there's a lot of the opposition has heightened. Yeah. So, but then my concern is even the fact that opposition is heightening, and we have the likes of your Ojuzo by the NWC. What do you interpret that this will do within the APC at this time? You know that it doesn't take a lot before we start hearing of in-wranglings and factions within the party because of some of these kinds of choices.
Well, for those who have shown interest to pursue their aspiration moving forward, not minding the situation at that now, I think it's their democratic right. And if they think that they have the clout and the support of their members to emerge victorious, why not? We've had that before. So, but talking about the what it portends for the party, it is not even only about the party now. It is what it portends to our democracy, and of course the expected good governance Nigerians are expecting from this incoming government. So, like I said, let's start small and wait. Let's wait and see what is likely to happen in the days ahead. The days ahead, and it's not far again, we'll be able to point at what may likely happen, whether there's going to be sharp division even within the ranks of APC, or there either competition in the leadership first, or even UC as a chairmanship position of the National Assembly. So let's just start small and wait so that we'll be able to see what is going to happen in the day side. You will see that some of them will eventually step down.
David Umahi also withdraw his, interest in running for that particular position. But according to him, also he's saying that look, President-elect has also advised that he steps down, and so that's why he's stepping down on his ambition. But Rashid, I like where you have landed this conversation. Let's tarry and wait and see how all the drama will definitely unfold. But just like you have said, a lot of these aspirants now, for that seat of the Senate presidency, are actually coming out to like, okay, let me be seen, let me be heard as well, and all of that. But we'll definitely tarry, just like Nigerians will be tarrying on that particular one. But let's move quickly now to our next focus conversation this morning. The Code of Conduct Bureau, issues is to checkmate corruption while you enter into a political office, and on your way out of a political office, you have to declare your assets. But making it a prerequisite to, get in a particular position now, what weight does it carry actually?
Or any political office holder or public officer, whether elected, appointed, recruited, call it any name. It is a constitutional provision. And this is very, very explicit in 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Paragraph 11, Schedule 5 of that Constitution was very explicit on the role of asset, code of conduct tribunal once you fail to declare your asset. So asset declaration is a constitutional provision. It is expected that once you are in public office, as long as they are below 18 years of age, including your wife, and close relations that bear the same name with you and are close to you. So, like you said, this is not to do anything other than to ensure that your assets in terms of salary and allowances as a public officer. So all these things will be measured, periodically checked, whether truly what you declare as an asset is what you still have while in that office. It's just to, get corruption. But the question is, has this been actually working in Nigeria? Well, the answer is, as you and I know. I think it is not, except they want to get at you. That is why the CCT will institute a case against you. Otherwise, all these politicians that are living large now, where were they before? What were they doing? Where were their source of income coming from? How have they been able to make all this humongous amount and asset that is all over the place? So I think the asset declaration management should up their ante, should take this matter seriously.
declarations are not done before May 29 and like June 5 respectively, now there are consequences expected. Some of these elected officers, senators elect, governors elect, stand the risk of losing that position and also not even being able to vie for public offices anymore. Now that's like a deterrent and a warning kept on ground for anybody who might be thinking, oh, I'll find a way to circumvent. Another question that Nigerians will even be concerned about at this time is, are they really honest about these, assets that are declared? For instance, there's a lot and different kinds of speculation from different schools of thought as to how much the president-elect is worth. Now, when he makes his declaration, what exactly is, the expectation that we are going to see on paper?
Well, that is a serious question that you ask. But the first plank of your statement, which was the consequences of their action, as you rightly put, I mean, you can be fined, you can be jailed once the CCT find you culpable, and you can even have both fine and jail depending on the nature of the offense you have committed and the worth of your asset. And this asset might be forfeited once it is established that you contravene the law. But how many have we had even between 1999 to date? How many? The last public one I'm aware of was even this president-elect when he was invited by the government, Goodluck Jonathan's government, that he did not declare his assets before he became governor. No, he did not declare his assets properly before he became the governor of Lagos State. And the amount he was then is completely different for his net worth now. They chronicle all those assets at the time. So what was the outcome of the whole thing? He's now the president-elect. And you just mentioned now that part of the penalty was that the person will not, contest election again. Was he even found guilty or not? The matter was, he just died a natural death. We didn't even see to the end of the matter. Whether discharged and acquitted or not, well, we didn't know. But as far as the lawyers are concerned, because I remember that time, I think about 50 senior advocates of Nigeria signed for him at the time, led by Chief Olade Oladipo. So these are different ballgame entirely. But like I said earlier, I think they need to sit up in ensuring that this is a matter of constitutional provision, and it should not be selective. It should not be aimed or target at the political opponent. Rather, it is expected that everybody, and people even think that it's only politicians that should declare their assets. No. Once you get to a certain level, a public officer, as a civil servant even, once you get to directorship level, it is that some of these civil servants are best. I mean, we've seen that Minor and the likes. You are civil servants. We've seen them. So some of these civil servants even stole much money than the politicians themselves. Even politicians use some of these top civil servants to steal the public wealth. So have they declared the assets? The answer is no. If they have declared, did they declare the right assets? The answer is no. What of those who are with liability? Have they declared their liability? The answer is no. So I think they are, before now they make caricature of this asset declaration thing, but given what they are doing now, I believe that they want to change the game. And let's be patient enough to see what they are likely to be moving forward.
When we say that they want to change the game and, maybe become more effective, in taking the asset declaration thing, I begin to wonder, why is it now? This asset declaration has been something that has been on board for the longest of time when it comes to, politicians declaring their assets. And then we take it back to even 2015, where the President Muhammad Buhari said he has just one house in Daura and how many cows. I'm wondering if that is still the case now as well. But again, let's even look at asset declaration, just like you said, as a tool for witch hunting. We know that aside from anything, the seriousness attached to it, we just seem to be seeing it now. But before now, the seriousness attached to it is just, okay, declare your assets. This is what you have. That's another angle. How effective is that? And then again, why would we have asset declaration as witch hunting in Nigeria? How can we even begin to guard against that?
Well, it shouldn't be so, because it's a constitutional matter and there are clearly regulated provisions for that. Where if you follow the due process, you will know that it's not targeting or targeted at anyone, but those who are holding public offices, not necessarily politicians. Even the technocrats who are holding public offices. I just mentioned now that once you get to the level of directorship in the civil servant, it is expected that you declare your assets, because at that point in your career, you have reached the peak, and the next phase will be the permanent secretary, which is quite political. So, witch hunting the opposition party in the name of asset declaration, in my view, is not the way to go. Those who are even those who are behind this asset declaration, have they declared the asset themselves?
That's another question.
That is another matter. Yes, because you see a secret police, for example, who is asked to arrest a public officer. Allowances that make him to be living that kind of luxury life. I give you an instance. The former police cop that was arrested by what's his name? This Borno man. The super cop. I've forgotten his name now.
The super cop. Kia. Is it? There's a Kiari in his name or something?
Yes, Kiari.
Abba Kyari?
Is he Abba Kyari? Abba Kyari was the former chief of staff. It's Kyari.
No, it's Kyari. It's Kyari that was linked with the Hush Puppy case, the super cop.
Yeah, exactly. That is the super cop I'm talking about. You will see the lifestyle he was living. You wonder, is this still the same commissioner of police or deputy commissioner of police? How will he be living this kind of lifestyle? But we all know what happened at the end of the day. So, the police that was looking for an armed robber, that was looking for a criminal, himself became a criminal. So this is the kind of country we find ourselves. It's so unfortunate. But I think they need to even review the asset declaration, the agency responsible for asset declaration. I think that law needs to be reviewed, so that there are some specifications that will be meted out and targeted strictly to those who are holding public office at a particular, even lesser than the directorship, even in.
I'm also even thinking, Rashid, now, I'm also thinking, what's even the essence of having an assets declaration? Now, the intention is to curb corruption. But the truth is, it is not curbing this corruption. Chris Ngige was saying that that is his basic, that is his take home, and it covers for his domestic stuff, it covers for this, it covers for that, and more like there are no other, incentives now added to that particular salary. Fine, it could be the basic by the constitution, but is it this particular salary that these politicians receive, and at the end of the day, they are having houses all over the world? It's the question we're asking here. So if the assets declaration thing is not actually doing the objective at which it is being set, then it's better we scrap it out and then just allow these people do what they want to do.
No, there must be checks and balances. Is the efficacy and the
there must be checks and balances, but
of,
it is not checking and balancing anything. That's the point.
Then our discourse is not to ask that they should do away with the constitutional provision. Instead, our discourse is to set agenda for the efficiency and effectiveness of that agency responsible for asset declaration and others, like asset declaration, like other agencies, so that those who are saddled with this responsibility will know that the citizens are actually monitoring and are watching, and what becomes of them will be a subject of history, whether rightly or otherwise. So this should be our agenda, and this should be where to go. It's a constitutional provision, Janice, and we should always remind them that they need to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Like I said earlier, paragraph 11, Schedule 5 was very explicit on asset declaration for both political office holder, public officers, appointed, elected, recruited, call it any name. Once you are in government service at a particular rank, then you need to declare your assets. Let Nigerians know what you have at the entry point, and at your exit point, they will know. Now, those who are shadowed with the responsibility of monitoring and evaluation will now know that, okay, between so and so years and so and 2 years that you have been in the office, this is what you are. Is it justifiable? This is what we should be saying, and this is what we should see. And this is what the Asset Declaration Agency responsible should be telling Nigerians and do, not the other way around, not witch hunting, not politically witch hunting and targeting or targeted at opposition party, like we used to say in the past. Like I said, let's give them a benefit of doubt. That benefit of doubt is because at least they are starting very early now. In the time past, they would have sworn in before this asset declaration. People would be, making noise and all that. But now they are yet to be, declared, sworn in as elected member, and they are asking them what to do. I think maybe we are about to see a new dawn in that particular agency.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it just goes without saying that it has its pros and cons, but are there greater expectations out of asset declaration? For instance, I know that there was a joke that made the rounds a couple of months ago when we were talking about the assets as declared by the president before he came into office, and then people were asking, is it that the cows did
joke apart, and when something is good, let's say it is good. When it is bad, let all roundly condemn it. We've not had a sitting president like President Muhammadu Buhari when it comes to asset declaration. I'm not talking about his family. I'm talking about he himself. He still remains the only president in the Federal Republic of Nigeria as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, either in Nigeria or outside Nigeria. The two houses he has before he came into government, yes, might be renovated now, but still the same houses he has even up until now. The one in Kaduna and the one in Daura. He does not have a house. Even Transparency International has confirmed that. He does not have a house in Abuja. Can you believe that?
So, but I would think it's just a matter of interest also, because if you calculate all of his pegs as president of the Federal Republic, we do not say that on the part of integrity as a person who he is, that he could not have been able to afford certain assets for himself, without even stealing from public offices. So I'd also think he can benefit as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but yet there's been no additions. I think that's, in some sense, that's instructive to other public office holders. If you can wait it out for your period, and then maybe, and because when we also talk about asset declaration, we're also talking about financial declaration, liquidated funds, how much available in you know, all of that kind of form. All of those things are things that we must know. But then a clause caught my attention. You know, when we are talking about some of these things, you need to read in between the lines and some of the things they're talking about. Now, when you're declaring your asset, it's not just that everywhere they all have assets. Those assets have to be declared, because looking at, falling back, you know, further like into the UK, Rishi Sunak, who is the Prime Minister, recently had issues with the UK government because a certain impact do you think this is going to have? I mean, because funny enough, Nigerians will find a way to boycott things. So the person elect might declare, but he will not look into like family declarations of all of these things.
So Rashid, let's quickly look at that too, because I know recently too, there's been a lot of linking of properties outside this country to President-elect and his son, Sheyi Tinubu as well.
Exactly.
Do we still have Rashid on? Anyways, I just hope that Rashid comes back online so we can put a final, you know, stop to this conversation. But again, we have a situation, just like you have said right now, where political office holders will declare half of the assets, because there's just a lot of linking. Right? So where did you get all of those funds, you know, to be able to have these kinds of assets all over the world? But again, some people will tell you that Bola Tinubu is a business person
and has been in business for a very long time.
Has been in business for so long a time, and he can afford some of the things that is being, you know, mentioned against his name and all of that. But again, the truth of the matter is, just like Rashid has said, we are setting an agenda, you know, for government as well as far and also setting an agenda for the Code of Conduct Bureau. Before now, there was that lapses, inefficiency, ineptitude on the part of the CCB. So if they're coming up, kudos to them. They've started asset declaration quite early, before the inauguration proper now of political office holders, but to try to see how we can, you know, bring in efficiency and leave complacency out of the way, you know, to make sure that we do what is right for the good of Nigerians. That's just the truth. And so if you are supposed to review the assets every year, why not do that? If you're supposed to review the assets at the end of the, you know, the tenure or the term of this particular political office holder, why not do that? And if you find out that these people are faulting or they have lived above the means of the office that they hold, why not prosecute or ask that these people be prosecuted?
Or forfeit some of those things.
Yeah, some of those things. So it doesn't look as if when we get to hear that, oh, government has collected so many properties from, you understand, like the Desiani case now, government has seized this, has seized that from former Minister Desiani. You see that, oh, it's witch hunting or something like that. So let's see how a situation where we are setting agendas for the CCB to do what they're supposed to do.
And the coffers of the CCB, what does the CCB do with them?
Coffers of the CCB?
Yeah,
or
more like, you know,
government?
Yeah, coffers of government. More like, you know, there is a parastatal that oversees that. Now, my concern is upon forfeiting of house, because I mean, if you look at places like the FCT, you have estates and estates that have houses that nobody is inhabiting. But yet we have Nigerians that do not have a home. They cannot afford to, you know, have a house of their own. Why don't we see a point where when these things are forfeited, there is a system that breaks it down, that, you know, public servants, people can be able to buy these houses at rebated prices, and not just having properties laying, you know, fallow everywhere, or you now go and still go back and auction it for the people of means. Do you get my point? So there's just a lot of parts. And then when we're talking about asset declaration, let's also look at verification.
Exactly.
I've declared my assets. What is the structure in place to verify that these assets declared are the assets I have?
Yes.
This is all that I have, and this is true of the declaration. So there is verification of all of these things. You know, the mix is there. It needs to be done. It goes beyond, oh, I've received the form and I have their businesses are going to continue to thrive. There's still going to be turnover, financial activities happening in all of this time that they have, you know, been in office. For instance, you know, I run a oil block, and I am the president of the Federal Republic. My oil business is going to be booming. In all of these years, I would have now accrued more wealth my finances would have increased.
Yeah.
The tendency to balance it out with the help of the CCB, our numbers, our books, verification. It still brings me back to verification.
Yeah.
Who is taking the time to verify the numbers?
These assets that have been declared? And again, would we say that we don't have corrupt officials in the Code of Conduct Bureau that will want to overlook this just because there's a brown envelope waiting for them somewhere and all of that? But this is the Nigeria that we have found ourselves, and as our you know, our duty as the press is to make sure that we set agenda for these kinds of things in the country. But at this point, we'll say thank you to Rashid. I think the connection, we lost the connection there, so he can join our country, and we'll keep setting agenda for that purpose. Actually, at this point, we take a short breather, and when we come back, of course, we'll wrap things up on this end. Just stay with us.
Welcome back. I mean, it's been great conversation, Janice, and the great things that we've talked about on the show today. Asset declaration, our last conversation, and the tribunals, two, you know, pivotal things that we are looking out for, and of course Oyetola and Ademola Adeleke's judgment today. We are really keeping fingers crossed. But just before we do a quick ride out of the space, we hear that there's some kind of court clash in Akwa Ibom State on the Nwaiba axis of the the state. We do hope that the requisite security agencies have gotten wind of this information and are doing what is necessary. We hear the area is quite dry. People cannot go about their activities maybe when it comes to a certain hour of day. Now, this is just to throw out an alert to Akwa Ibomites and people living in that access to be more careful. But then we need details of this information. Whatever you have for state, we cannot now come and start having issues because of, court clashes. Please be safe out there. Say something if you see something so that that situation can be arrested as soon as possible. I mean, it's been 3 days long and we do not know exactly what the contest is about.
Yeah, serious issues, but we just hope that the relevant security agencies and government as well will just wade into the matter and see how they can begin to nip this on the board. But it's been a wonderful ride, yeah. From 7 a.m. up till this moment, we say a very big thank you and rise and shine. Don't forget, of course, we'll continue to drive agendas for a change in Nigeria, because we want a Nigeria that we can be proud of. We want a Nigeria that our children will come and say, yes, this is the Nigeria of our dreams. My name is Janice Coburn, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
My name is Uyai, and again, thanks to everyone who was a part of our show and to our production crew. You are absolutely the best. Do not forget to follow us at all our social media platforms at spectrumtv.ng. But again, you need to be following at Janice Coburn and Uyai Barak on social media. Let's take this away from your screens. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of our program.